Blog Talk Radio.
There's a mystery lurking the forested areas of the world. Many have seen something, but what is it? Are they seeing known animals? They claim they walk upright, like a human. There are so many eyewitnesses. Can they all be wrong? Is someone just playing a trick on people? Or is it possible a large bipedal being could exist in the forests of the world? You have a decision to make. Do you believe it exists? These are the topics we discuss on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Welcome everyone to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is September 17th, 2013, and boy, are we cooling off a little bit here in Virginia. It's starting to feel like fall here. We got a great show for you tonight. Before we bring on our guests, I want to introduce, as always, our great co-host, the Creature Seeker.
Hey, Billy.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I've been wearing a jacket here lately, though.
Yeah, looks like Old Man Winter's not that far away, I'm afraid.
Well, the bad thing is my truck is in the shop getting a new transmission, and thank God for that lifetime powertrain warranty.
Well, Billy, if you would stop drag racing your truck, maybe it would last a little bit longer.
No, hey, what can I say? It's got over 100,000 miles on it. Poor thing.
Wow,
I've
that's a good
abused
run.
that truck. So,
what
but
kind
that
of
lifetime
truck you got?
It's a 2008 Dodge Dakota. It's the only 2007 and 2008 were the only 2 years of the Dodge Dakota that they put lifetime powertrain warranties on, and I was so glad that it's got one on it.
Wow.
So. But, so I've been riding a motorcycle, so needless to say, I've been putting on a jacket to ride the motorcycle into the office. Because I leave at about 6:30 in the morning, and it's cold. So, but anyway. Well, without further ado, we'd like to announce our guests that we have tonight. These folks are from the Pennsylvania Sasquatch Association. They're in Pennsylvania, and we've got 3 of the members from the group that's going to be on tonight. We have Mark, Jason, and it's not Scott. It's Bob. It's kind of a running joke, guys. Bruce kept calling this guy Scott. So,
well, no, Billy, there's no guy named Scott. That's the joke.
But anyway, so we'll start out. We'll start out with Bob. How you doing tonight, Bob?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I figured we'd start out with you. You were the big public relations guy. You're the first guy that contacted me, and I kind of email corresponded with you. So, just to kind of get this out of the way, what got you interested in Bigfoot?
Wait. So Didn't you get a wrong number? Isn't that how you got in touch with us?
No, I don't think it was. That might have been Scott. So.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I got interested. Ever since I was young, I always just been interested in Bigfoot, UFOs, anything ghost, paranormal, and where we live in Pennsylvania, it's a pretty wooded area, and I always fished and hunt, and just kind of always had the feeling, something was watching. So growing up, watching all the shows and that's what piqued my interest in it.
So you haven't had Bob, I'm sorry. How old are you now? You said when you were young. So how old are you now?
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 41 now. I'll be 42 in March.
All right. Cool.
So you haven't had a sighting or any kind of encounter?
Nothing like eyewitness, just like some strange screams and stuff in the woods we encountered being with the group lately. So that was pretty much it for me. Very
good. So it sounds like you guys go out and spend a little time together out in the woods doing research.
Yep, there's 8 of us, and usually we get, at least 4 or 5 of us all together to go out and do the investigation. And we film them and post them on YouTube.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's go to Jason. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing really good.
Good. Now, what got you started in this?
Ever since I was a little kid, I was always interested in it. I remember being in 5th, 6th grade and always taking the books out of the library in library class. And then as I got older, started doing more research on the Internet, and for a while kind of became a closet researcher. And then I found these guys on Facebook, and I kind of bugged and taunted them until they finally let me join the group. So unlike the other guys, I could say I haven't been doing this a long time. Like, age-wise, I'm fairly young, so I can't say I've been doing this 20 or 25 years. I'm only 29 years old, so, but...
I'll tell you, I wish
when did you come out of the closet?
Out of the closet as far as big research, researching, but Bigfoot, so...
Yeah, he made that clear, Bruce, though.
Okay. That's what I was talking about anyway, Billy.
So have you yourself had any type of sightings or encounters, Jason?
Never seen one. Like Bob said, while we've been out, we most likely heard them, seen probably signs that they've left behind, but never anything concrete or face-to-face yet. We're working on it, though.
Okay, good. Well, my understanding, though, is we do have one member on here tonight that has definitely had a sighting, and that will be Mark. How are you doing tonight, Mark?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing just fine. So I probably don't need to ask you what got you interested in the subject, because my understanding is I think that you got a BFRO report out that kind of tells a lot of people why you got interested. So why don't you tell us a little bit about
it? Yeah, I was born and raised in Ohio, and a lot of Bigfoot researchers know that Ohio is a hotbed for Bigfoot sightings. And at the time, I was only 9 years old, so I wasn't, into the Bigfoot thing. I didn't really know what he was at the time. I had basically it all came down to as I was playing hide and go seek with my sisters and some friends in the house, and we had a large pine forest behind our house that basically it's in Talmadge, and it basically goes back to a reservoir that later on and during research I've seen that there's been numerous sightings around this reservoir. But anyway, basically we were supposed to play the hide and go seek in the house, my sisters, blah, blah, blah. And I was looking for my sisters, and I assumed that they had went outside into the woods like they usually did and hid. So it was getting dark, and I went outside, and and went in the woods and was looking for my sisters, and I heard a noise, and I basically looked through the pine trees, and I saw something looking back at me. I thought, you know, the way the moon was and everything, I thought it was my sister or something at the time, but then had the dawning realization that when I looked at the eyes and the face, I knew it wasn't my sister.
Yeah, I was going to say that would probably be pretty easy, either that or, you know, your sister's, you know.
I don't, Billy.
Well, my sister's not beastly.
We were getting a little worried.
If the only way he could tell was from the eyes and the face, that wasn't his sister. I hate to see his sister.
Yeah. No. You know, she had her moments.
I hope you've never told your sister that you mistaked her for a Bigfoot.
Oh no, she teased me about it. Trust me. I heard about it for a long time. But
so what did it do anything when you saw it?
Well, I guess you could say it's hard to explain, but we made, I guess you could say, eye contact. I was looking through the trees, and the eyes were solid black. There was no white to the eyes, and it had a darker face that I could see through the pine tree. And the weird thing about it was, you know, close to the same height as me. I was 9 years old at the time.
Okay.
So what I, you know, still not knowing really what it was, is I ran around the tree to, you know, catch it, thinking it was somebody. You know, at the time I didn't know what it was, and this thing was incredibly fast. It stayed ahead of me, where I couldn't catch a really good glimpse of it. But if I would stop and look through the trees, it would stop and look back, almost like it was playing with me as like a juvenile.
Right.
So, you know, it's hard to explain. It wasn't a scary feeling. It was I guess you could say it was a calming, serene feeling when I would look at this thing through the trees. Not like I didn't have any fear like it was going to come through the trees and devour me. All of a sudden, I got a smell. I guess you could say, you know, that you hear these things or they smell like rotten eggs and this and that. Well, I got my dog's been outside way too long smell.
Right.
And as I got that smell, I heard a high-pitched, I describe it almost as like a woman getting murdered in the woods kind of scream like you hear in the horror movies.
Right.
And then I heard some crashing, and it was gone. And, you know, I heard some crashing through the woods. These things were gone. I realized what had happened, and I ran back to the house, and my sisters and everybody were sitting in the house the whole time.
Wow.
And when I told them what had happened, they, you know, at 9 years old, it was my imagination, or I was crazy, but I know what I saw, and that still got me interested in it, and I've been interested in it ever since.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I mean, obviously you can see where you had mistaken it for, you know, a young person. I mean, if it was the same height basically as you were, so
yeah,
you know, probably figured your eyes were playing tricks on you.
Yeah, and also I had found out later. I actually had talked with Cliff Brockman from the BFRO. He's one of the ones on TV.
Yeah.
And he had pointed out to me that around the same time as my juvenile sighting, as they classified it. 2 or 3 days later, there was also another juvenile sighting within 5 miles of mine by a woman. So it kind of reaffirmed, it kind of eased my mind that, I wasn't going crazy. That there was, I guess, there was another sighting of a juvenile Sasquatch at within a couple days of my sighting.
Cool. Well, that kind of helps to somewhat confirm possibly what you saw. So, Creature Seeker, are you still on the line with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, we hear you.
So this creature that you saw was a juvenile, and you said it was about the same height as you were. So how tall would that have been?
I was 9 years old at the time, so I don't know, 4 foot something.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
I was a quick kid, so I knew something was up when I couldn't catch this thing around the tree.
Wow.
I was no slow individual at the time.
Did it make any kind of noise at all?
Absolutely no noise whatsoever. That was what was throwing me off. Was basically all I could hear was the crunching around the trees, but as far as it making noise itself, no.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can see where that would kind of get you interested in finding out what's out in the forest.
Yeah, my hope is to, with the PSA, my hope is to reaffirm someday to see the big, I call him the big man, is to see the big man again. Just to reaffirm myself that, hey, there he is, I know he exists, or they exist. I have my theories about him as well as Bob and Jason, and I've discussed my theories with some other top scientists, and these theories are all have been talked about. So 3 years ago, there was the mountain that I live on in Pennsylvania here. Jason and Bob know that there was actually a Bigfoot sighting that's on YouTube on the exact same mountain I live on. If you look it up on YouTube, it's the infamous white Bigfoot sighting. It was actually, it made the news here, and then a guy caught it on film and posted it on YouTube. And, the funny part about that is it's the exact same mountain that I live on, so
wow.
It's almost like I can't get away from it.
Right. Now, where you're at right there in Pennsylvania, is that part, and my geography's bad, so I'm not exactly sure where you're at up there, but is that part of the Chestnut Ridge?
No, we're northeast PA. We're the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area. So we're kind of like right around the Pocono Mountains.
I know where you're at now. Okay. As soon as you said Pocono, I knew exactly where you're at.
Yep.
Now, you guys, how often do you guys go out as a group? Do you do like expeditions? Do you try to do, so many of them a year? Or?
We were doing pretty good during the summer. We were getting out about every 2 or 3 weeks, and now that it's kind of going back to school time, one of our members is a teacher. I work with special needs kids, so as far as like with the school you're picking up and everybody else is working, it's not as crazy busy as far as going out into the field as it was, but we still try to get out at least, once or twice a month as a group.
Right. Now, is you said that one of your members is a teacher. Is that somebody we got on here tonight?
No.
I'm just I'm kind of curious. That's Yeah, that's Scott. I've always wanted to ask, some of the school teachers that are into this if they ever find a way to incorporate Bigfoot into their teachings, at school. Well, how about you? Was that Jason that works with the special needs kids?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever incorporated anything, talk stories or anything, just to kind of,
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the kids I work with is like old enough to understand what I do on the side, and we were sitting there one day at his house watching our videos on YouTube, and I was kind of explaining things to him. Another kid I worked with, or used to work with, one of his classmates, now I don't know how true the story was, but actually came to me one day and started telling me about a supposed encounter that his family had, but you got to take it with a grain of salt when you're hearing a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, sometimes they can surprise you. I think I've had a 14-year-old recount a story to me that when she was telling me this, and I tell you, I've actually talked about this a couple times, but when the girl actually told us what had happened, we watched the hair stand up on her arms. It was like, wow, there's no doubt this girl saw something. I mean, we all even reacted the same way.
Right. I mean, when I had this little kid tell me about this encounter, I'm like trying to get details on it. I'm like, oh, so what happened and what did it look like and what did it do? And he said he was with his family up in the Poconos, and they had land around wherever they were staying, and he said this thing actually got up and looked like a monkey and started shaking a tree. And I'm thinking, okay, this is coming from a 6-year-old who has no idea what to even look for and what he's talking about, but yet he's telling me something that coincides with typical Bigfoot behavior. I'm like,
right.
Okay, so maybe, there's something about what he's telling me.
Right. Yeah, it's some of the kids, some of the stories that you hear, they can be pretty interesting. We had a fella, I don't know if y'all have ever run into this, but I know a fella that lives here. He actually works about 10 miles from me, and he's from I'd have to go to Bruce on this. I think it's somewhere over in Central America. I can't remember exactly. I can't remember which place it is over there, but anyway, he's a cook up here at one of the restaurants, and it was really funny. It used to be a running joke when I'd go into the restaurant. They'd say, "Here comes Monkey Man." That's what he'd call me when I'd walk in the restaurant. And
I think he was calling you that for other reasons, Billy.
No. See, he knew what I did. And but he thinks it's funny that we're interested in it because he talks about, he doesn't know it as Bigfoot. He's got another name for it in another language. But he thinks it's funny that everyone's interested in it because to him it's like an everyday animal. It's not a big deal. He used to talk about how him and his father would go out and work in the garden. And, when they worked in the garden, they really worked in the garden, all day long. And they actually took their lunch out there with them. And he talked about a time when, and I can't remember what, he has a special name for it. He said the thing came out, they have like a really thick, some jungle type areas around. And he said the thing would just come on out of the jungle and it would actually, it came over and just got his lunch, opened his lunch box up and just ate his sandwich. He said it made him mad, so he was going to go over there and get his sandwich, and his father told him, no, you leave him alone. You leave him alone,
Yeah, no kidding.
and then it went on its way. But to him, it's not a big deal because he'd seen them so often that it was, just like seeing a deer or something to us,
What was it, orangutan or something like that? Or?
I think it was a systemite.
That's a what?
I think it was systemite. You're talking? Is that the guy from Guatemala, Billy?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think they call it the systemite or something.
Yeah, he said it looks, to him it just looks like a tall, slender monkey.
Yeah.
He said it wasn't huge or anything. It was just like a, but he thinks it's funny because we're amazed by it, but yet it's like an everyday, whatever.
Yeah, that's the same. Through all my research, I found out that that's basically the same kind of feeling in China as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. We're all amazed by this, but there's other people that's like, whatever,
Yeah. But yet there's no pictures. They just would rather leave them alone and let them eat their sandwich and go on their way.
Now, you all as a group, and any of y'all can answer this. As we all know, there's a wide range of groups all over the U.S. and the world, for that matter, and everybody kind of has a different belief, as to what it is and that kind of thing. Are you guys more of like flesh and blood kind of person? You think it's like a live animal? Do you think it's something spiritual? Or does everyone have their own opinion?
Well, I know I'm on the scientific approach that flesh and blood animal, probably descendant of Gigantopithecus that came over the land bridge, sometime around whenever back in the day, probably bred with early human, early caveman. And when you look at some of the DNA things that have come up, they have found a lot of human DNA in it. So I'm kind of on that sense of it.
Okay.
You're talking about the Melba Ketchum study?
Oh no, I won't even go near the Ketchum study.
Which DNA study are you referring to?
I don't think it's the Ketchum one.
Okay.
Maybe something Meldrum's done. I believe.
Well, I know that Brian Sykes is working on a study, but none of his stuff has been released yet. And I do know that some DNA work has been done by different individual laboratories where it'll come back, part bear or, that kind of thing. So
right.
The only study that I'm aware of that actually came out and said that there was human DNA was Melba's DNA study. But so I was just curious if.
Yeah, I don't think that. I might have been like listening or reading an interview with Meldrum, and
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I was just really interested if there was another study done, because I was, definitely gonna look that up. There's been, I've talked to Dave Paulides about the Melba study, and it's funny. There's a couple of different camps on that. There's one camp that says, well, she couldn't even get it published. And then there's another camp that said, well, who's gonna take her seriously?
Right.
So.
Yeah, everything I've seen come out of that is sketchy. With Yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. So with all those Bigfoot groups out there, how come you decided to form your own group versus becoming part of BFRO or another local group out there? What was it that made you decide to form your own group?
I think it's we were just kind of. I wish either Steve or Mike were here to answer that because they're kind of our co-founders. They had a experience, well, not so much an experience, but heard stories from our local area when they were kids, and they always did the research and kind of went off on their own, and then they decided they were going to form their own group just kind of around the Northeast PA region and expanded from there. And along the way, they kind of picked up Bob and picked up myself and picked up Mark, and then
Scott
we kind of. Yeah, Scott along the way, and the ball's been rolling ever since.
Scott's been out in the field for about 3 months now. We haven't heard much from him.
we dropped him off on some state game land somewhere, and he hasn't come back yet.
I actually encourage people to go out there and form their own groups, and it's a great way to become involved in the field. Especially with people that and you trust.
Well, I ran across different groups that have different ideas about what they want to do and how they want to approach, finding Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and a lot of them I don't agree with. I agree with our approach where it's more scientific, spiritual, paranormal type. We're not out to shoot one and display it. We're actually out to try and figure out what exact avenue to take. We're trying to take it basically from all different angles from the members that we have. Mm-hmm. I mean, I myself, I know Jason is more the Gigantopithecus. I myself, from research, are more into the old American Indian spiritual protector of the mountain type avenue. I'm not sure exactly what Bob is. I never really talked to Bob on what avenue he exactly comes in on, but that's what's good about our group, is we're not all centered around one thing. We're trying to come at it all from different angles and try and put it all together in one piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, it sounded like your group's pretty open-minded, that you're ready to accept whatever's thrown at you. So, and I think that's the way to be. You have to stay open-minded, because, in all honesty, none of us really know anything about this creature. I mean, if we did, then we wouldn't be having this much trouble finding it.
Right.
So,
and it all depends who you talk to. You talk to the scientific people, it's scientific. You talk to the paranormal guys, they're coming off with it being spiritual and ghostly. You talk to the UFO guys, it's an alien. Everybody has their own cup of tea on their approach.
Right.
You even get a lot of guys that say, if you look at all the reports, you'll see that, there's a lot of UFO sightings right around the same time as Bigfoot sightings.
Right.
It just coincides. For some reason, I saw a UFO, and then the day later I saw, Bigfoot. So then they put those two together, and...
Right. Well, let's face it, Pennsylvania is, I've always joked, I mean, Pennsylvania is probably one of the UFO capitals of the United States. I mean, so...
yeah, it is.
UFOs are common sightings, so to speak, in Pennsylvania, and the fact that you see one in Bigfoot, maybe a day later or whatever, I don't necessarily think there's a correlation there. But again, I don't know. I guess anything's possible, but
yeah, my
it's
funny you say that, because my
really
14-year-old son has actually seen a UFO, so Dad got to see something when he was young, and now my son got to see something, and I just think it's kind of weird, but at the same time, I totally believe him 100%, because he wasn't the only one that saw it at the time. So,
right.
It's just like you said, Pennsylvania is a hotbed for sightings in both areas, I guess you could say.
Right. What was you going to say, Bruce?
Well, I just was just going to say that I really resisted the idea of a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs. But, admittedly, there are a lot of sighting reports that link the two of them together, Don't know what to make of it, to tell you the truth. But it is what it is.
Right. Now, we have a question from Digger Dog out of the chat room. He wanted me to ask you guys, since you all are from Pennsylvania, have any of you read Dave Paulides' book, the Eastern edition of Missing 411? And if you have, what do you think about what he initially says about the state and the odd number of missing children, even though some of them are most of them are several years old? Have any of you read the book?
No, yeah, I haven't read it. I've heard about the book. I just haven't got there yet.
Okay.
I know that, from the book, I guess, from the Northeast, but you could also correlate that with the missing 411, I guess you could say, from the Northwest area as well, and the odd number of missing people that just come up in correlation to, like, children and in the Northwest is, the hikers and the other people that come up missing that I've heard about. What do I make of it? I really don't know. If you go back to the old Indian myths, they did take your children. That's what they would actually tell their children to not go out at night because the protector of the mountain would take you.
Right.
That was an old Indian, what was considered a myth at the time, basically to, like, you tell your kids, don't go out at night, there's a bear out there or whatever. But the Indians actually did say that, back in the 1800s, don't go out, the mountain man will take you. So I don't know. I really don't know what avenue to take it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely, Pennsylvania is a great state as far as some of the areas out there. I've done quite a bit of research in that area, mostly with Eric Altman and some of those folks. We went out to areas. Yeah, the Chestnut Ridge. I've been out in that area. Very interesting area, and we have been up in the north, but I don't know. I can't recall what the name of that mountain is that we all went out there.
Rockton Mountain? Was it Rockton?
No, that's not it.
No.
I'll think of it here in a little bit. Probably after the show is when I'll think of it.
Well, Altman is he's a renowned bear. Is that the one I'm thinking of, where he's a renowned biologist for bears and wildlife up here in Pennsylvania?
No, I know who you're talking about. Eric Altman is the director of the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about the other one, that Altman or whatever, that has to do with all the research.
Yeah, there's another.
Yeah,
I can't think of
his last name I think you're thinking of is Alt, just plain Alt.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of his first name right now, but I know who you're talking about, Mark, with the Bears.
Yep.
Yeah, but to where, those guys with the PBS, they're more western part of the state. We're more eastern part of the state, so we're more up in the northeast Pennsylvania region, up there in the Endless Mountain region.
Right.
And we get plenty of action up our way, too.
Yeah. Laylock.
You guys are talking about Gary. You guys aren't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, does Laylock sound familiar?
Laylock.
I think it's like Laylock or something like that. Laylock State Forest or...
Loyalsock?
Loyalsock?
That's it. That's
Loyalsock.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not too far from us, actually. Loyalsock isn't too far from us. I'm trying to think. I know where my daughter goes to school, they play them in football, so it would be a close proximity to the Berwick-Bloomsburg area. But I think it's out more towards maybe Williamsport, that way,
Yeah, it was a nice area. I mean, I really enjoyed being out there. We actually had a bear encounter. We had a bear, and actually we took an enclosed trailer, kind of like one of those motorcycle trailers, one of the big ones, and we used that instead of taking tents and stuff. We used that. And we left, because it was so warm, we left the back down. And we were sleeping in there on our cots. And one of the other gentlemen that was in there with me had a bear come up on the back ramp and lick his foot. He actually woke up to a bear licking his foot.
Yeah,
and he
closed the door then.
Well, yeah. I mean, we were like, okay, we got to do something here.
Yeah, well, where I live up here on top of this mountain, I have game cam pictures of my husky staring at a 400-pound bear and not even barking at him. So, it's one of those things up here where all of us are kind of used to being out in the woods and running into bears, I would say.
Oh, I'd say, yeah.
I wonder what Gary Alt would say about that.
Is that who it is? Gary Alt?
Yes.
Yeah, that's who it is.
God.
That's definitely one of those stranger bear behaviors that, I would write down in my book for the rest of my life.
Well, we didn't have any food out or anything. Everything was put up, sealed, and put in the vehicles. So, I mean, obviously the thing didn't mean him no harm, or else it took his foot off, I'm sure. But
yeah.
it was just kind of funny that it came up in there. It scared him to death.
Oh, yeah. I'd be done I'd be packing up and going home.
I think the lesson here, though, is you should not store Oreos in your socks.
Yeah. Or have your friend smear peanut butter on the bottom of your feet when you fall asleep.
I don't know. Maybe that's what happened to Scott.
Hey, thank you for that idea. Bruce, you ready to go out camping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't really get Bob, did you chime in on what your thought about Bigfoot was? I didn't know if you did or not.
No, I didn't. I'm pretty much on the same lines as Jason. And that I never put too much stock in the alien thing. I mean, when you guys are saying the story about they kind of show up a couple days after, I mean, that could just be curiosity too. I mean, my theory, they could have seen them too and just came to that area and check it out for themselves,
Right. Yeah, and it's and I think a lot of people too. You hear the other theory out there about these portals and wormholes or whatever you want to call them. Because they talk about how they find the footprints and then the footprints just stop.
Right. Yeah, we just had a YouTube posting that I had posted on our website where a gentleman had supposedly found footprints coming out of a river. He filmed it, and the footprints just suddenly stopped in the mud.
Right.
So, but who knows? I've heard all those theories too about infrasound, where they can make a low-pitched noise that'll actually, bother you enough to leave the area.
Or it shocks the prey of whatever they're going after.
Right. Actually immobilizes the deer that they're going after. I mean, I've heard all those theories. I've heard the theories where they can, as long on the paranormal spiritual side, where, if they want you to see them, they make themselves known. If not, you could basically walk right by them. I mean, I've heard so many different theories and read so many different things that until the definitive answer comes out, no one will ever really know. It's going to be a theory.
Right.
I know, Dr. Meldrum, I've spoke with him. I know they just started their Falcon project with the thermal cameras mounted on the hovercrafts.
Yeah, did they have one of them crash or something, I read?
Yeah, one of them crashed. They lost control of it. But, they're basically flying low over the woods trying to catch on FLIR what you would if you were walking. And, they're going to catch everything basically on everything gives a heat signature.
Right.
I know it's going to be tough, like he had said. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed or with all the talks you've ever had, but, I personally have a theory. These things seem to follow or are in a lot of waterways.
Mm-hmm.
And, all these times that they're out trying to catch this thermal, this thermal image, you can't catch the thermal image when you're underwater. And if you have the lung capacity and everything else that a Sasquatch could possibly have, if he is human-like, who's to say that he just takes off? I don't know. Cliff Brackman actually says they've had, they found evidence of them hiding in alligator holes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think water has something to do with this as far as the way they travel, why they smell like a wet dog. I don't know. It's a theory I have. But once again, it's one of the many theories.
You're actually not the first I've heard say that. There's a lot of folks that believe that they may go just under the water line and actually burrow into the side of like creek banks.
Yep.
And things like that, which would also give them that somewhat sulfur type smell. But again, we're all talking theories here. We don't, we can't confirm any of this at this point. So
speaking of non-theories, you guys have been in the news lately with the whole trail cam picture. I'm sure you probably touched on it on an episode we weren't on, but what's your guys' take on that trail cam that came out of Virginia?
I'll be honest with you. I was actually, me and Bruce were talking about this the other night on the phone. Everybody's theory is that's a bear.
Right.
Everybody says it's a bear. Now, remember, it looks very similar to the Jacobs.
But it has
photo.
a hand.
Right, to the Jacobs.
Right.
Except the one I noticed between the Jacobs photo, the hair on it was such more monkey-like, where this is like a giant shag.
Right. Yeah, it definitely looks strange to me. And I don't know, the limb proportions look entirely out of whack for a bear. But again, I was actually lucky enough to have the guy who researches in that area where the trail camera was. He actually contacted me about 2 days ago and asked if we could bring some folks down there to kind of take a look at the area, because he's claiming that he has found several footprints in that area where that trail camera was at.
Oh,
so
wow.
Probably going to take.
Now what part of Virginia was that in?
It's down in southwestern Virginia in Wythe County, which is near Wytheville, Virginia, which is not very far from Tennessee and West Virginia. It's down in the tail of Virginia.
Is that the Appalachian Chain area?
No, this is the they call it the Tri-City. It's kind of like Bristol, Tennessee.
Okay, I know Bristol. Yeah.
It's right down in that area there.
Okay.
So, and there's been
me looking at that picture, me looking at that picture, and like Jason said, we've run over the Jacobson picture numerous times up here, and my personal, like you said, with the limb proportions is, I see a hand on the right-hand side of that creature, but that's not to say that it is a hand, because of the way the trail camera is and the way everything is.
Right.
But I've blown that up and sharpened it and done everything I could on my programs. And, if you really, really look at that picture on the right-hand side, to me you see a hand. But, I don't know.
Right, and here's one I wanted to pose to you guys. I'm kind of halfway on the fence of this, halfway off the fence, but when I look at the muscle definition in the legs and the arms, I just don't see the muscle definition in it. I mean, part of me, the skeptic in me says, okay, it's a hoax, it's someone wearing a dirtied up ghillie suit. But then, you know, the happy-go-lucky Squatcher in me says, no, it's a Squatch.
Yeah. It definitely,
well,
it definitely doesn't
the
look
curve
like
of the curve of the spine suggests primarily a four-legged animal. And when I looked at that picture, you're right. You don't really see a lot of definition in the leg. And to me, it didn't look like the legs could, in a bipedal fashion, support this creature. It looked like this creature, its normal state was quadrupedal. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, you're talking about the Jacobs.
No,
photo,
I'm talking
right?
about the recent photo.
Yeah,
the
Virginia one,
photo.
You did see
Yeah.
it, okay. Yeah, because I did forget to send it to you.
Yeah.
Now, you know, if you look at the Jacobs picture, you could see where the legs would support the idea that it could stand as
I think
two-legged.
it could stand. What I'm saying is, it doesn't look to me like, you know, bipedal creatures have a certain definition and a certain posture.
Right.
When you look at that photo, you know, like, hey, I've seen raccoons stand up. You know,
I've seen bears stand up and look at me.
But I don't think that's their normal state. I don't think that's their normal locomotion. It seemed to me that the creature in that photo, it was normally quadrupedal.
You know, now, you know, in saying that, with all the research that Bob, Jason, and we've done, and me being from Ohio and knowing about the Ohio grassmen and all the stories there, I've heard many, 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 many stories of Bigfoot walking on fours, standing up, taking off, and getting back down on all fours to maybe mimic a bear and throw you off. You know, that's not to say, like you said, I have trail cam pictures of bears, and I could show you the definition perfectly of a trail cam bear walking away compared to what that is. And I'm on the fence as far as, you know, almost being, I really wish I knew the size, but to me that's juvenile.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, again, it gives us something interesting to discuss and look at. I mean, I don't think if these photos and videos and stuff didn't come out, we would wouldn't have anything to talk about. So.
Well, another thing about that Virginia photo, the Virginia trail cam photo, Billy, is that if you blow it up, you can actually see a tail. So that was another thing that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, somebody else had told me they could see a tail. I haven't blown up any of the sections, so.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to look
I
at
actually
that.
heard someone say something about it being like a sloth or something.
Well,
yeah,
I
don't know. I never thought of that.
I'll tell you one thing. That's that area that they're talking about. It's a pretty vast wilderness down in that portion of Virginia.
Sure is.
Are there a lot of sightings in that area that have been reported?
There are a lot of sightings, and there's a lot that go unreported. I spoke to a gentleman down there right outside of Whitfield, Virginia, back a few years ago, and in our discussion, I could tell that he has had sightings, but the way he said it was, well, you know, if I have seen something here, I really wouldn't say anything about it because I don't want a bunch of people out here with guns. So in a way, he was telling me that, yeah, you know, we see things out here, but, you know, we don't want you out here. You know.
You know, believe it or not, that's a general consensus in Pennsylvania I'm more on the northeast side than Jason and Bob, and the people I've talked to here, that's the general consensus is, I've talked to hunters who supposedly have seen this thing in their scopes,
right,
and not done anything about it,
right,
and don't really know why, but they just don't, and there's so many unreported sightings that people would, they'll talk to you personally about it, and say, well, kind of like, I saw this and that eating apples, but, I don't really need people up here snooping around.
Right.
So, I can see that a lot here, and I bet Jason and Bob probably have the same stories.
It blows my mind, like, how much stuff just comes out of the woodwork on the deal. You're talking to someone, and they say, oh, I had a buddy that this happened to, or Bob could tell you firsthand how many people he's had come to him and just start telling them stuff.
Right. Well, can y'all believe it? We've got like 4 minutes left of the show already. It flew by, didn't it, Bruce?
It flew right by. These guys are really interesting. We should, at some point, Billy, we should go squatching with these guys. I think that'd be a lot of fun. What do you think?
Yep,
I agree.
Definitely. I agree. Now, before we end the show, first of all, I'm going to ask Bob. Bob, how about you give everybody your website address so they know where to find you?
Okay, you can look us up on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and our website is www.PASasquatchassociation.com.
Very good.
And I was going to say there's links on there, too, to our Facebook and T-shirts, and there's all kind of contact forms if anybody wants to get in touch. We all have our own personal email, and then there's also a contact tab on there if anybody has sightings or anything. And like we were just talking about the sightings, we get a lot of messages like through our Facebook and that where people tell us their sightings, but they give us we don't want our name mentioned or anything like that.
Right,
so
right.
We can't keep this, just between us.
Yep, and Facebook can be a very interesting social tool if it's used correctly.
Yeah, it could.
Right.
It could.
And I can tell y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we've had those.
Yeah, we've got a group page for the general public, and we get, and I love it because people come there and post their stories, and some folks will come and post their reports where they go out and do like their own independent research, and they'll post reports. Yeah. I love reading that stuff and just.
We get that all the time.
Oh, yeah, we get that all the time. Oh, I was hiking in this area. You need to come and check it out. And they'll go back there time and every weekend and give us reports of stuff they've seen. And
yep.
But then I love it because you get the people that troll on your page and they'll call you every name underneath the sun and stuff you didn't even think of.
We know all about that, don't we, Bruce?
We certainly do, Billy.
You wouldn't believe how much hate mail I get.
Yeah, we take it with a grain of salt, and we look for the bigger picture.
And I don't get it either because, like, hey, if you don't like what these guys do, then don't go to their webpage, and it's as simple as that. I mean, you don't need to troll on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep.
Right. And as you guys, I'm sure already know, there's 8 of you guys. What is the main reason the 8 of you guys go out and do this? What's the main reason? I know what you're going to say. Is it because you hate doing it?
No. We all just enjoy it, and, we have a
we love going out in the middle of the night hearing wood knocks and screams and wondering what's going on.
And you know what? You go out into the woods for all these hours and you don't find anything. What's the worst that could happen? You spent the day out in the woods, hiking around, got some good exercise, enjoyed some fresh air and good conversation.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to say it's not just 8 guys. It's actually 6 guys and 2 girls we have, too. So.
Okay. Yeah, we want to make sure we get that correct because somebody's going to get in trouble.
That would be us. We'll blame it on Scott.
Yeah. I did it.
it was that darn lone Scott out there hidden somewhere in a creek bed.
We're going to have to make a profile for him real quick on our page now.
Yeah. He's a nice member.
Give him a fake email address.
Yep.
That way he can match most of the fake profiles on Facebook.
Well, we'll just give him your email address and send the mail your way.
Oh man. Anybody got any last things they want to bring out? Jason, you got anything you want to bring out before we cut off?
No, I'm pretty much good. But like you guys said, if you ever want to get together or come up to PA or have us down to Virginia, you know where to find us.
Yep, we will definitely do that. How about you, Bob? Got any last words?
Nope, just like I said, just check us out on our Facebook page and send us any sightings you got. I know Mark's working on a map of sightings for us, so he'd probably appreciate some more sightings to work on.
Very good. How about you, Mark?
I really appreciate everything that you guys have let us talk about, and all the insight you guys have given us, and we would definitely like to, if not get together as far as going out squatching, at least maybe sometime down the road, touch base on the radio again and see how things are going.
Yeah,
sounds
absolutely.
good to me. Yep. We always like meeting new folks and going out and spending some time, so that would be something to look forward to.
And Billy, one of the great things about this show is that we've met some really great people and just honest, like sincere, fun-loving people who enjoy being out in the woods. And, it's really great meeting them, and it's really great knowing that they're out there because,
right.
Sometimes you and I, we have to deal with a lot of trolls, and sometimes you lose faith. But it's really great knowing that guys like these are out there. We met some great guys. The guys from Maine are also great. Love being out in the woods, love what they're doing. They don't care what the naysayers say about them. That's really great. I'm really, really glad you guys are out there doing your thing.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Yep, it's great. It's great. But, the naysayers, they have inquiring minds, so the inquiring minds want to know. So.
Yes, they do.
You will always have that no matter what it is, whether it's the Loch Ness Monster or you name it, and you're going to have people that think you're full of it. So.
Yeah, we've kind of learned that. We've talked to, you got your UFO guys, you got your ghost paranormal guys, and they all say the same. They have the same kind of characters in their field. So, I guess it's everywhere.
Yep. But that's okay. You take it with a grain of salt and you look for the good stuff.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, thank you guys for being on the show. We greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks
thank you very
for
much.
coming on the show, guys.
Yep. We appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend, and on your next trip, y'all be careful out there.
You too. You hear anything special, let us know. We love to hear anything good, even a follow-up with, going to that place and looking for those prints. I'd love to hear the follow-up on that.
Yep, it sounds great. All right, guys. Good night.
All right, good night. Thanks for having us.
Good night, guys.
Right, bye.
Good night. All righty, Bruce. Looks like we've wrapped up another show. And
Billy.
Yes.
I have one last announcement.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so we have another video, a Creature Weekend video, up on the Creature Weekend website. So
okay.
www.creatureweekend.com. This video is just a short video highlighting some of the events over the Creature Weekend Summer Campout that happened in July. So
great.
If you're interested in just sort of seeing what we did over that weekend, the website is www.creatureweekend.com, and it's the first video. The thumbnail shows a guy getting on a horse.
Shows a guy getting on a horse.
You'll see what I mean.
Oh, man. I'm sure that's going to be funny to watch. All right, well, you've got it up on creatureweekend.com. I'll be sure that it gets also put on the Creature Weekend Facebook group page.
All right, great.
And that way everybody can watch that. And, never fear, people. Sooner or later, you're going to start seeing announcements coming up about Creature Weekend, so be prepared. It's going to be a good one this coming year. Got to give them that teaser. You got to be ready for it.
It's gonna be a great conference. Every year it just gets better and better.
Yep, that's right. So, all right. Well, if you don't have anything else, Bruce, I think we're done tonight. And
right.
We want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Thanks for listening in, whether you're on the chat room or listening on the phone. We appreciate each and every one of the listeners. And be here next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have another great show for you. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Remember to join us again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate every one of our listeners. Thank you so much for being here.